Hey everybody, welcome back to James Draws Everything, continuing today, of course, with our Every Country in the World's Flag series. And today, back to Africa, we're going to be doing South Sudan, which, as you can guess, is south of Sudan. And this country is actually the newest country in the world. So South Sudan achieved independence from Sudan in 2011, right? So a bit of like had a bit of a split there, which we'll get into. So Sudan, of course, still exists as just Sudan, and this is South Sudan. All right, so we'll get more into the like the full history of Sudan and that region when we do that episode. So home to like some of the oldest civilizations in the world. And a lot of kind of a fluctuating like seasons and stuff in that area, so a little difficult for like agriculture and farming, so that kind of causes problems. And it's one of those states that kind of because of that, they're kind of always going to be beholden like to foreign aid and assistance. And so the modern day region, remember Africa is kind of North Africa, mainly Islamic, and a lot of the other parts of Africa, the more European colonized areas converted to Christianity. So it's kind of a big reason why there are two Sudans, which we'll get into. And I'm just kind of mapping out where I want my stuff to be. It does have a star. Okay. So yeah, what we consider modern day South Sudan, conquered by the Egyptians, and then when Egypt was sort of like a protectorate slash client state of the British, there was some British influence there as well. So that we're talking like 19th century. And that's kind of where you get all of your Christian missionaries from, so bringing Christianity as well as the English language to South Sudan. And then again, the northern part was still mostly Arabic and had Arabic governments. And Sudan proper, they gained independence in 1956. And this is kind of where issues start between the two regions. So the south, southern Sudan, they achieved assurances that they would not be repressed in the government, and that they could participate in the political system, because the Sudan government was mainly Arab and Islamic, and that didn't really happen, so led to a couple periods of civil war in Sudan. So not exactly a stable region in the world. That kind of that intersection in Africa where North Africa meets Central Africa, Sub-Saharan. So they had a civil war in from 1955 to 1972. It's a pretty long time. And then another one from 1983 to 2005. So that's like almost the country's entire history there. And yeah, they say that as many as like 2.5 million people died in the Sudanese civil wars. And that's not just military, that's like mostly civilians. And a lot of this is because of starvation and drought. And they say that the second Sudanese civil war was like the deadliest war since World War II, as far as just sheer casualties. So that's not good. And it left, kind of both the North and the South pretty much devastated. And they reached a peace agreement, of course, with the help of the international community in 2005. And this is kind of what kind of gives the southern part like a map, a road to independence. So they have like a prohibitionary period in 2005, just kind of one of those, we'll see how you do kind of deals before we, grant you full sovereignty. And then, of course, that period does end in 2011. So they had autonomous government, and then there was a referendum, which was held in 2011, and a vote, and 98% were in favor of secession from Sudan. So that's the birth of South Sudan, the newest country in the world, only formed in 2011. So welcome to the world, South Sudan. We hope that your future is a lot brighter than your past. And because, this is 2024, as I'm doing this, you're the newest country on my little project here. We don't know if any other new countries are going to pop up between now and the time that I finish in February of 2025. We'll see. You never know with the world, right? Alright, so the flag is one of those flags that has kind of a lot of colors in it. And they're like, it's not just like a simple tricolor bar here in the middle. It's actually separated by these little white bands in the middle. And James, 2011, that's quite a long time ago now. So what's been going on in South Sudan? Well, it's been mostly peaceful. They've joined the international community, and they've had peace and prosperity. And no, of course not. No, this is Africa. What do you think happened? Widespread famine, death, government corruption, the usual. So one of the poorest states in the world. Barely has a functioning government, a lot of corruption, political conflict, not necessarily like military violence, but civil unrest, and a lot of violence between the political parties. So actually, one of those conflicts, you had a group that was loyal to the South Sudanese president, and one that was not. And that killed tens of thousands of more people. So unfortunately, we see this song play out quite often in Africa once these countries receive their independence. So who knows how long South Sudan even functions as a sovereign state, unless it becomes like a, you can almost see it being like a United Nations, like a trustee zone, right, where it's just kind of ruled by the international community until they can figure out what to do or get a stable government in there, because the Sudanese civil wars were horrifying enough, and this country kind of just drifts right back into it. There was a peace agreement in 2015, and created a national unity government, and then shortly after that, goes right back into the same thing again, right back into conflict and more wars. Another agreement in 2018 that kind of created more of a stable military structure there, right? So it's not just kind of everybody for themselves. They actually have a state military to kind of enforce law and order in that region. But even to this day, even after that, it remains one of the countries that's most in need of humanitarian aid. So one of those states that a lot of tax dollars go to, because they can't keep the lights on, basically. And then I've talked about this in other African countries too. Say what you want about colonialization and stuff, but once they started destroying states like Rhodesia and South Africa, those guys were net exporters of grain and foods. So, Africa has food. If you're my age, you remember, all those. God, they made a South Park episode about it, right? Starvin' Marvin, and what was her name? Sally. Was it Sally Struthers? Sally somebody, right? And she was always on those commercials, right? You have to, there's all these poor, starving Africans, so we need only $1 a day or something like that, right? And so that's a trope for a reason, but they would always try to sell it to you as Africa, it's all desert and they don't have the climate for food and this and that. It's no, Africa actually does have a lot of food, and it's just that the governments are so unstable there, and 90% of them were communist. And what happens under communism, right? All your food goes away. So South Sudan, no different. Unfortunately for the people there, they're suffering. We don't want to see that here, of course, to anybody, but it is what happens, though. So, a lot of African countries, basically self-sabotaged and committed suicide, basically in the decolonialization period, because you're looking the 1800s, they're all eating just fine. So they state something now like 75% of or not 75%, 7 to 11 million South Sudanese citizens are in need of humanitarian assistance and food. So living on pennies a day. So do they need to possibly reunite with Sudan, who has its own problems, but the Arab government there is a lot more stable, than what they have. So who knows? We'll just we'll kind of finish off this flag here, and I'll get into the details on that. But just similar song and dance again, like I said, with all of these countries where, independence, maybe that looks good on paper, but then you actually try it in practice and everything goes to hell. So, but again, newest country in the world, 2011. So welcome to the board, South Sudan. What is your flag about? So, the black represents the people of South Sudan. The red, can you guess? The red, the heavy metal, the blood, the struggle, the independence, The green, it's got a darker green here, the vegetation, the land. The blue, the waters of the Nile, so the Nile does go through South Sudan, and the gold star represents the unity of the states that make up South Sudan. So it does resemble the flag of Kenya, and it's one of only 2 flags that have 6 colors as part of the primary design, and the other one is South Africa. So a lot of colors on this flag. Usually you only see like 2 or 3, so there you go. That is South Sudan. So let me know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next video.